Director at S&P Global, joining in on the show right now. Puneet, hi, morning. Good to have you on the show. Puneet, just going by the previous month dispatch figures, it seems like it's pretty much a muted trend across the board, largely barring a few odd outliers. What is your own sense on which segment within auto can perform, and within that, then which company can do well?
Right. So first, thank you very much, for having me on the show. So great to be here. So you're absolutely right, with so many uncertainty around, finally, Indian automotive industry is losing its sheen. It's clear that if we have a look at quarter one numbers, so specifically if we talk about dispatch, so passenger vehicles is almost down by -1%, two-wheelers is down by -6%, and CVs is almost flat. So clearly, though in retails, it is little better. If you have a look at passenger vehicles, it's 2.5% growth. In terms of two-wheelers, it is 6% growth, and in CV, it's flat 1%. But the worry is, that obviously dispatches are not happening. And if we do a further deep dive, like Maruti. So Maruti was down by -5% in Q1. Tata was down by -10% in domestic sales. Similarly, Maruti was down -5% in domestic dispatches. Similarly, if we talk about players like Hero and Bajaj, so they have been down by -12% and -8% in domestic dispatch. So I think clearly demand is a big issue, and maybe if we talk about the prices of the vehicles, so they have been touching the roof, so though discounting itself reflects, there is pressure in demand, and it is also helping in pushing retails, which we can also see. And apart from that, in two-wheelers, we have also seen price rationalization, like Hero or Bajaj, primarily reducing the prices of their entry models. But, cost definitely is a big concern, and if we see inflation in metals in Q1, similarly regulations, which have been coming. So that all, is putting a negative impact, so for example, onboard diagnostic in two-wheelers, so obviously was an add-on cost, and you really can't take everything from the customer by increasing the price hike. So you can only increase the price hike a little bit. So overall, if you talk about the sector, so clearly, two-wheelers is a segment, which is going good for now, primarily because we had a good monsoons, though there is a lot of pressure from the rulers. The ruler uncertainties are relatively very high because of financial tightening. But parallelly, PV is also one area. But then, I think if we retrospect, in the year beginning, we were talking about 2.5% growth in PVs, and we are almost in a line to it. So I think two-wheelers and PVs, will be my bet, and definitely with festival season coming in, and with the finance rates, which has been reduced by almost 100 basis points this year. So they can be good driver of growth, along with new model launches. For example, Maruti coming up with a B segment, SUV, and similarly, Hyundai coming up with another car. So I think the model launches will also infuse some energy, into the sector.
Puneet, morning. This is Shrishti also joining in. So the demand is quite muted as of now, and that's visible on the numbers front. But do you believe that going ahead, the margins can also be under pressure? Because what we understand, that in order to push the sales, the passenger vehicle companies are coming out with higher discounts on a month-on-month basis. And on the flip side, it's the raw material prices, especially steel and aluminium, they are inching higher in the domestic market. So do you believe that the best is rather behind with respect to the margins?
Yeah. So I think we survive on, the best is always yet to come, right? But I think to some extent you are right, because we had a good time in last few years. But seeing the uncertainties and primarily, seeing the discounting levels, which, industry has to run in, obviously is eating into margins. And similarly, as I said, that inflation, of metals, will clearly be a downside, for the industry. And moreover, there is so much of uncertainties, there is so much of dynamism in the industry today, right? That you have to really invest in new technologies, new features, and maybe, new features in accordance with the regulation. So clearly, I think EBITDA would be under pressure, and typically, if I talk about from a supplier perspective, because our supplier base is dependent on US in terms of export, and because of too much of fluctuation, with tariffs or tariff statements, is really leading to toll or stress, because you really can't do your proper planning, and you have to pay a higher cost. So somewhere, and also, with rupee appreciating, is also somewhere an impact, for the companies who are exporting. But yeah, so there is no doubt, but then I think growth is equally important for now, because we really want, industry to grow and doesn't get into the negative growth trap.
Interesting. Puneet, also wanted to understand the entire EV landscape here in India. Even as we speak, you've got Tesla opening its first showroom here in India. But tell me, how do you sense the EV landscape is evolving right now, given the fact that a lot of domestic incumbents as well have really caught on to the EV play, M&M clearly being quite a success story there?
Yes. So currently, I think India, in terms of EV, has been a laggard if you compare with different big markets. If I talk about last year, EV penetration in cars was just 2.5%. If I talk about two-wheelers, it was close to around 6-7%. But interestingly, now, we have seen this year, primarily because of MG Motor coming up pretty aggressively, and Mahindra's really showing, a very exciting vehicles on the road. So I think this year we are already seeing now month on month EV penetration is touching 4%. And as per S&P Global, 4% is generally considered as an inflection point for EVs, globally. So we have seen a lot of markets, as soon as you touch 4 to 5% EV penetration in a country, because you start getting better word of mouth, you start getting better charging infra, people confidence goes up, you have, better supply chains, better suppliers, right? So 4 to 5% is an inflection point, how we see, and definitely, PV industry touching close to it, maybe towards the next half, or maybe next year, we may see a big uptake, in EVs. But so as per S&P projections, EVs in passenger vehicles will be close to somewhere around 18%. And today's exciting launch from Tesla, so finally, I think Tesla is in India after a lot of discussion and news. So I think Tesla entry into India can really solve two big, mysteries in India. So one is, if you see premium cars in India have just been 1% of the overall car market. For years, for decades, right? So I think with Tesla entry, we really feel this 1%, will be over, and India and the premium car market in India may be coming close to 1.5-2%, as soon as Tesla comes up with their entire range. So which is good. And on the second side, I think when Tesla comes in India, so I think they're clearly, they are an EV player, and being an aspirational brand, and they will definitely create a kind of an aspiration to own a EV in the consumer. So I think clearly our government is very proactive in terms of pushing greener, cleaner, and electric vehicle fuels, and Tesla can act as a catalyst, for an EV industry. So obviously they may be in the bracket of 50 to 60 lakhs for now or above, but clearly, they'll create an aspiration, and we can also see, players like Mahindra's and Tata's becoming more aggressive, in electric vehicles, if we see a good response coming from Tesla's bookings in days to come.
The other thing that I wanted to check with you is what are you really hearing with respect to the rare earth issue? Because the companies have been talking about the shortage and how it can really impact the production levels. Companies have been vocal about that maybe by the end of this particular month, that is July, the production is expected to take a hit. Help us understand that anything constructive on these lines are you hearing, or the uncertainty, or rather the concerns still persist?
Yeah, so crises are not getting over, right? So I think, though in developed part of the world, Europe and US, they have some settlements around rare earth material, but India still is in one of the problem markets. So we have already started seeing some impact. For example, if you see suppliers like Sonoco, so I think they are definitely there are disruptions for their motor manufacturing because of rare earth, and also in certain variants. By July end, we will start hearing about certain disruptions or production shutdowns. But definitely, if there is no solution in next 1 week or 2 weeks, so India is heading towards a disaster in August, the second half, because most of the players may have one or two components which may be short, and clearly this is a time when industry really gear up for the festival season, which is generally a very good time for the auto industry to push and book sales. So we hope that in next 1 to 2 weeks things should be over. So though we are seeing that OEMs are trying to work on different variants mix, powertrain mix, so that they can run longer, with whatever parts they are available. Similarly, we are hearing about assemblies being procured, from China and from other markets, so that again this issue can be resolved. So I think industry is trying its bit, in terms of what best can happen, in terms of delay. And hopefully, we should be able to go through this crisis. But clearly, as now the clouds are not yet over, for rare earth crisis in India.
Right. Right, absolutely. A lot of moving parts there, which are clearly impacting the auto industry. But Puneet, thanks for joining in with your thoughts today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on and let's talk about what's happening within the world of commodities. While there's a